The journey to wealth is a long walk, and some people may walk quicker than others. But what good is sprinting to the finish line if you pass out when you cross it? This is Walk to Wealth with your host, John Mendez.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, I got another very special guest coming in from the blocks. For everyone who didn't know, I hopped on a TV show last year called The Blocks, pretty much like a entrepreneurship accelerator. And it was really cool because you pretty much have a full-time, full crew, film crew at every room you can think of. But you're learning about entrepreneurship and business the whole time. And this lady I got connected through the Facebook group. And so super excited to have her on today. So without further ado, Maddie, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity, the pleasure to get to know you, to get to meet you yet, tell us your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Maddie. I'm the hot sauce girl. I'm the owner and CEO of Homestead's Hot Sauce, and we're a healthy hot sauce company based out of Brooklyn, New York.
Amazing. So, Maddie, take us kind of like behind the scenes a little bit. Before you got into hot sauce, before you got into entrepreneurship, were you always entrepreneurial growing up, or is that something that you kind of picked up as like what was little Maddie like growing up?
Actually, I was a very dramatic person. I loved performance art. Growing up, I spent all of my time in dance practice or gymnastics or in musical theater camps. So I did spend a lot of time getting immersed in storytelling and also in performing. So I do have that as my background, but I do think I always had a little bit of the entrepreneurial spirit. To put myself through school, I always was hustling jobs and side gigs, as well as working in the restaurant industry, and sales was my biggest motivator, upselling customers. So I think I always had that little edge.
So fill me in. So you started working multiple jobs while you were still in high school, correct?
Yes, I did. I started working when I was 14, actually. So the minute I could start collecting a paycheck, I was on it.
Amazing. So fast forward a little bit. Take us to graduation. So you said you're doing theater. You're already working multiple jobs. You're in the restaurant industry, which I highly recommend. I haven't talked about this on multiple podcasts before, but I feel like the restaurant industry just teaches you so much about people, and you deal with so many different personalities, and some people are in a great mood or bad mood or whatever. And so take us to that time period. You're in high school. You're about to graduate. What was kind of going through your mind and your headspace? Were you thinking about college? Were you thinking about trade? Were you thinking about theater? But what was going through your mind?
I was always thinking about college. Growing up, coming from a private school, it was very competitive academically. So college was always on the horizon for me. I definitely wanted to push for a theater degree. I was very passionate about sticking with theater through college, and that's what I did. I did end up going to Flagler College, which is my hometown school. It is growing so much and has been named as one of the most beautiful campuses in the U.S. So there's a lot of great things about the school, and my theater degree there is very valuable to me, and I use it all the time. So college was the best thing for me.
And so you went to school knowing you wanted to do theater and stuck with that the entire college career?
I did, actually. I mean, my parents were very encouraging for me to do that. They also wanted me to double major, which I did not take their advice on. I really just had tunnel vision on the dream of performing. And looking back, I think that it was a good thing because all the lessons that I learned and the things that I've done have really helped me in my business now. But I also see, now that I'm a parent, I do see the other side of it, the practical side of things, encouraging maybe a different type of major. So I see both sides of it.
No, I totally understand. And so were you still, I'm curious, so you did theater, you stuck with it, you had a ton of vision. Did that deter you from that hustler that you had back in high school? Were you still trying to bounce between jobs, still trying to make money however you could, and still in the sales space? Did that kind of take a back seat as you started to take theater more seriously? What was that kind of juggling?
I did have some tough choices when I was in school between keeping jobs or making performances. I did often quit jobs when they wouldn't accommodate my performance schedule. So I had to make those tough choices, and I always chose the dream because it's something that I felt so passionate about and still do. So I always felt like jobs could be had again in the restaurant industry. But if I had a good opportunity with a show at school, or we had a 450th anniversary once for the town, which was a very big deal. And I had to make a tough choice then between working at the restaurant and making money or performing in the parade. So tough choices like that happen a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like one of the things, at least from what I found with like the restaurant industry, which is also why I recommend it to a lot of young people, is like they usually tend to be more flexible. But even if they're not, there's so many restaurants that are understaffed. I feel like one thing I learned, and I'm not speaking for every restaurant, because, you know, some are like I'm sure the Michelin star ones, or, you know, the high end ones are running a smoother ship. But like most of your local like mom and pop restaurants or like whatever, it's like a lot of times they're understaffed, they're making ends meet. You'll never know, right? Because they're always going to smile and make sure the food comes out. But like behind the scenes, the kitchen, you could have a kitchen manager or one of the sous chefs kind of like call out last minute, or, you know, something happened, they don't show up, or now you're down to cook, or you're down, you know, let's say one of the food runners or busters comes in late, so now you're picking up plates, even though that's technically not what you're supposed to do, but you always make it work. So I think it's dope that you kind of had that strong will to continue pursuing the thing that you wanted to pursue. And fast forward a little bit. So you got out of college, you graduated with a theater degree, right? Yep. You were working multiple jobs through high school, through college. Yep. And after graduating, when did entrepreneurship start to come into the picture?
Well, it really started to come into the picture after about 5 or 6 years living in New York City. So I had moved to New York City after graduating and was pursuing the performance art dream. I was doing a lot of auditioning, but also working in a very famous restaurant. And so around that time, I also met my husband. And so once we got together, we're two idea people, like ideas all the time, bouncing ideas, coming up with ideas. And once we got together, that was it. We started creating ideas about businesses on the spot all the time. And that's really where things start to took off.
Wow. So, and your original idea, so you started brainstorming with your husband. Was that getting into hot sauce? Like how did that kind of come in the picture at all?
So it's kind of not exactly. It didn't start with hot sauce. It started with catering, actually. But it's funny how it all comes full circle over and over with the idea. So the idea started with catering, on-site parties, VIP parties in the Hamptons. And so we did that, and it was great. But since it was a service-based business, it relied on us being able to do the service. And so it really started forcing us to look at products or things that we could sell kind of passively and on the side as well, which is what led us to hot sauce, actually.
That's dope. And so now you kind of got the full picture. I just kind of wanted to dive into and share how everything kind of came together, so now we can actually dive into what it is that you do now. So for anyone that doesn't know, you have a hot sauce company, and you do a lot of marketing and all over social media and stuff like that. So tell us about the hot sauce company. What was the birth of it? And like, for anyone that didn't know, why hot sauce out of all the different things?
Well, the real answer to that is I love hot sauce. Growing up, anytime I would go anywhere out of state or on a trip, my souvenir of choice was the local hot sauce. So I grew up being a hot sauce lover and took that with me into adulthood. And I still am buying local hot sauces everywhere I go, even though I own my own hot sauce company. It's just my favorite. So that's really, the reason why hot sauce. But there are more complex layers to that. Of course, it did come from a pivot. So pivoting from the catering business that required a lot of hours and heavy labor, it really inspired us to sell something passively through e-commerce and something that we could really build over time and create almost like a lifestyle brand from it, because Homesteads really is more than just a hot sauce. It can be, really anything we want it to be. So that's really why hot sauce is, because we wanted to sell something passively. We wanted to build a brand, and we love hot sauce a lot.
No, that makes perfect sense. I can't lie. I was a punk most of my life when it came to hot sauce. I never really ate spicy food. As I started getting older, I started I never. And this friend, I'm Dominican and Guatemalan, which is like two countries that, eat hot sauce, at least
Oh,
not
yeah.
nothing crazy, but like, you tend to eat spicier things. So it's interesting. I just never had that. Until I got older, I kind of like just kind of forced myself to eat it. But most of the time, the problem with hot sauce, at least from what I find, is like there's a lot of hot sauces where the flavor is heat and there's not any actual flavor.
Yes.
And
I'm
that's what kind of
so
takes me
glad.
away personally from hot sauce. Is like there's really no point in me burning my tongue off just
Yeah.
to eat this food and then not taste any of the food that I'm actually eating.
Yeah,
It kind of defeats the whole
absolutely.
purpose of adding sauce to the food that you're eating. So that's kind of why I didn't eat hot sauce. But then my girlfriend put me on to this one that I really liked called Texas Pete.
Love
Um,
tea.
Texas Pete, like that was the first hot sauce I tried. Like I was like, okay, like this is actually like good sauce, and it's not
Yeah.
crazy spicy. And so that was the first one. And then there's a local like Peruvian spot. They had like this, I forget what it's called, like some green sauce that we put on our chaufa and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so that sauce packs a lot of heat. And then after that, I started kind of like, I'm not reaching for hot sauce as the first sauce, but I started to like try and get better at not running away from spicy food. And actually sometimes like I'll put some hot sauce just to, see. And it's like not your typical hot sauce, like your Peruvian or like the little green mixed sauce that I don't really know what the ingredients are, but but it's spicy. And so that's
So
kind of like what
was my original favorite, just so you know. And I know that there are new rules and companies are being forced to reformulate their recipes. And I hope that Texas Pete will also do that, because actually one of the reasons why I stopped enjoying other hot sauces and really wanted my own is because the chemicals, dyes, and ingredients that are now banned in this country are not in my products. And so, yes, you should try Homesteads if you like Texas Pete for sure.
So you mentioned food preservatives and ingredients that aren't labeled. One thing that I was talking to someone about this yesterday, actually. I have the 5-finger rule. And if it's more than 5 things, whether it's a hair product, a food, it doesn't matter what it is, any type of product that I could buy. If there's more than 5 things that I can't pronounce, I try to not buy it. And so there's also an app, too, that I use called, I don't know if you might know about it, called Yuka.
No, I heard it.
Really? Okay, you would love it. Pretty much the Yuka app is an app that you can scan barcodes for pretty much anything. And it'll tell you the ingredients list. It'll give it a rating from 0 to 100, tell you things that are potentially harmful, why they're harmful, and then suggest alternatives. And there's like a pro version. I think my girlfriend has it. I'm not sure if she does or not, but I think that one gives you like more suggestions or like a deeper explanation as to like why the ingredients are harmful to you, whatever. But or something like unlimited scans. I forget what it is. But long story short, yeah, it's a good app for anyone listening and for you as well, since you seem to be someone that's like an enthusiast of healthy alternatives. The Yuka app is really helpful when it comes to finding healthy and safe, whether it's food, again, whether it's hair care, skin care, you name it. They can scan a barcode. And so I think overall, like I know the UK and Europe, a lot of those countries, there's a lot of things that they would never allow in their food that we do here. And like, for example, countries like Japan, like the way they're like beef, and the quality and all the process they go through to obtain a certain standard, like in comparison to the US is like kind of bad. So tell us about like Homestead, like what was it like coming up with the formula for that? Because you mentioned, having a healthy alternative and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about what made Homestead.
Sure. So I agree with you about the list of 5, by the way. We also follow something very similar with all of our flavors, and it's also that there's only 5 simple ingredients, and all of them you can read and understand from a kindergarten level and up. So that is one of the first pillars of our business. And one of the other pillars is that we refuse to add processed sugar to our products. So even when we formulate new recipes, we never use sugar or even sugar substitute. So our product is vegan, which means that we don't even use honey, for example.
Okay. So I guess I'm curious, what makes a good hot sauce in your opinion?
For me, it's well-balanced heat. I also, just like you, don't like killers. I don't want my mouth to burn. I don't want to feel sweaty. I like to enjoy my food. And so for me, a well-balanced heat, which means flavor and a little kick, is the perfect combination.
I agree 1,000%. Okay, so now I want to do a little bit of a pivot. Because you mentioned a keyword earlier that I don't want anyone to miss. You mentioned a lifestyle business. And so for anyone that's listening right now, some people, they want to have the really big exit, right? They want to have the 7, 8, 9-figure exit, sell a company, make some crazy money, never have to work again, right? Some people just want to work, right? We have like the Alex Hermosis of the world. Like they just love business so much. That's all they want to do. And who knows what they'll end up scaling whatever acquisition.com to, but like there's some people who just love the business so much. That's all they want to do. Then we have some people who, or entrepreneurship is mainly just a means to end. Like this is to help fund our dream life, like the lifestyle, like you mentioned, that we want to live. Then we have people who are just doing it for some extra side, income. There's so many different types of entrepreneur. And I think it's very important to kind of know what you're in it for, because if not, you'll be chasing these arbitrary goals and wondering why you're left burnt out and feeling stuck. So I'm curious to you, why was a lifestyle business important for you and your husband and your kid now that you're raising?
Well, I think that creating a lifestyle brand really allows a lot of opportunities for the business, first of all. There's a lot of ways to keep growing and to keep being creative with the same brand, but just with expansions and sister companies. So for example, there's Homestead's hot sauce, but we also have Homestead's Kitchen, which is an expansion of our food products. And in addition to that, I want to develop Homestead's Closet, which can be a clothing line, which has the aesthetic of the hot sauce girl mixed into the homesteader vibe. And so I really do think that the lifestyle brand idea just allows me to foster my dream and really expand my creativity with the brand even more. Yeah. But I also think it provides an opportunity to leave a legacy behind for my kids. So it's not just a hot sauce company anymore. There's a lot more for them to do, a lot more roles to take on, a lot more ways to be involved, and for them to eventually take over.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, what's like your ideal life, like outside of the brand and stuff like that? Like, what is important to you, and how did you kind of come to terms? It can be very easy to get into entrepreneurship and just get kind of drowned in it, like where all you're thinking about is the business, and that is the only thing that's always running top of mind. And a lot of people lose out on hobbies, lose out on themselves, just because they're just so in the thick of it, for a while they're trying to get it off the ground. So like, talk a little bit more outside of the business and the brand. Like, what is that dream lifestyle kind of like, and how did that, how did you kind of find that for yourself?
Sure. So the dream for the future is to really have a piece of land and a homestead and continue our journey with growing our own food and fostering a farm to table lifestyle. So that really is why we named the business Homesteads, because that's our kind of pipeline dream that my husband and I have always had. Even before we started the business, it was our dream to kind of have this land. It's almost the old American dream in a way. Yeah. That was kind of our thing. So there is that, but we do live in the city right now. So the way we kind of touch base with that dream is by growing in our urban garden. So we have like a concrete garden where we sourced a bunch of materials from like the city, like wood pallets and things like that. And like, have created a garden and a little oasis here in this urban environment. So we kind of stay in touch with the dream through the garden.
Yeah. So I'm curious for like, because you're now in the city, that's what I thought. Back to your childhood a little bit. Did you grow up in like a more of like a rural area where like you had a lot of land and people, or was it sort of? What was that kind of like? Where did that come?
What if one tool was all you need to start your business and make your first 6 or 7 figures? See, I was never entrepreneurial growing up. And after starting my first business, I spent the first 2.5 years completely lost. Nothing worked for me until I found Kajabi. See, if you offer coaching, courses, if you have a private community, if you want to start a podcast, a newsletter, a blog, if you have a membership community, Kajabi has you covered. They have everything you need to start, scale, and sustain your business all in one. So I want to offer you a free strategy session where we'll talk about your business, your goals, and how Kajabi can help you. All you have to do is use the link in the description, and as an extra bonus, I'll get you a free 30-day trial to test out Kajabi. Normally, they only offer 2 weeks, so hurry up. Click the link in the description. With that being said, let's get right back into this episode.
Kind of stem from?
Well, I grew up in St. Augustine, Florida, which is at that time, 30 years ago, much smaller than it is today. It's definitely much more of like a small city vibe now. But I did grow up in Florida. So growing up, I didn't really have a strong love for like gardening or being in like the camping environment. That kind of came to me as I grew up a little bit. When I was younger, like I was interested in cooking and I did a lot of experimenting, but not a lot of it was specifically with gardening. But Florida, I think, shaped my love of hot sauce and spicy things 100%.
That's so dope because like everything kind of came together in its own kind of unique way. And so like moving forward with everything you have going on now, like again, you have this like legacy lifestyle business brand that you're building out and it's starting to branch out into other things. Where can people find you at? Where can we connect with you? Where can we get your hot sauce if we wanted to try it out? And just kind of get a taste for all the amazing stuff you're literally cooking up.
So the best place to connect with me is through Instagram. I'm very active in social media and I'm engaging with my audience regularly. So if you always, if you want to reach out with me and connect with me personally, my Instagram is at Maddie the Hot Sauce Girl, but I also have Facebook and you can catch me on Threads. Also TikTok has been my newest venture.
Yeah.
So have started the live selling journey on TikTok. So I am asking people to go to the TikTok shop and make purchases so that I can get some reviews because it's our newest e-commerce platform. We do have our own website and trusted platforms like Amazon and Etsy. So Homestead's hot sauce is literally everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all over my social media feed. I think you just did like a, it looked like a, all your, I mean, from what I've seen, like you have you do like a photo shoot that looks like, you know, like more like a modeling shoot, but then it's like the hot sauce in it. So like, yeah, I see like kind of incorporating
so much.
Like your own personal touch aside from like just saying like, hey, here's some hot sauce, go buy it or whatever. Like I can see the personality embedded throughout your marketing.
That means a lot to me. Honestly, I take a lot of inspiration from my major passions and loves, which is the pop music industry, musical theater, and fashion. So I kind of like have this idea where if you have a perfume ad or if you have a makeup ad, I just want to take out those products and then substitute Homesteads. And that really does bring out my personality because it's the things that I love, like the girly side of me.
I think that's so important too because it could be so easy to fall out of business. I was talking to one of my buddies about this. Like, especially having an online business, it could get so boring. Mm-hmm. You're literally like switching between the same 5 tabs. Like you have your Google, you have Zoom, you have whatever your CRM you're using. Like I use Kajabi. You said you have an e-com, so you're probably using like Shopify or something, right? Like, you know, and then like maybe if you have like a project management tool, I have a social media schedule I use, Riverside for my podcast. So like, for the most part, you know, sometimes it gets a little repetitive. It can be very easy to fall out of love with everything. And so I love that you're doing that. Because, like, for me, this podcast, I think I told you before we hopped on and recorded, like when we had our pre-show call, I don't do this at all to bring back or funnel back people for my business. And I get tons of people that ask me, like, hey, John, like, you're going out of your way to do all these episodes. Like, you know, you should do a better job of it. And it's like, for me, I just genuinely don't care about that. Like, I'm doing these because I enjoy doing them. And, like, sometimes... when you lose sight of that, this is the thing it can be very easy to like lose sight of everything that you have going on with the business. And that's why I kind of like keeping everything kind of separate. All right, cool, Maddie. So I appreciate you sharing your story. We got a little bit of a feel for, you know, your upbringing, how you got into entrepreneurship, all the amazing stuff that you have cooking on. Now it's time for the famous 5 questions. Same 5 questions I ask every single guest that hops on the show. Question number 1, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
The most impactful lesson I've learned in life is to do it now and do it fast. I learned that lesson from the beginning with my husband, and then it was reinforced with me at the blocks with Wes. His mantra, my husband, Andre, is get it done, get it done. And so for me, that really has helped the business because we've taken it pretty far because of that.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
The most admirable trait a person can have is loyalty. I really rely on loyalty from my loved ones and my friends, and I feel like I provide that back. And in business, I think it's also a very valuable thing to create loyalty with your partners, the people you work with, even your customers and maybe clients. So loyalty for me.
If you had to change someone's life but only had one book to recommend, which would it be?
Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye is, for me, the book that really changed me as an adolescent and kind of opened up my mind emotionally. And so I would recommend Catcher in the Rye.
Remind me again what that book's about. I think I read it in the English class.
Yes.
Isn't it about the one guy where like Lenny and like the Lenny dies or something like that? Or
I think you're talking about Of Mice and Men, which is also amazing, which I also love.
Which one was Catcher in the Rye?
Yeah, it's really a coming-of-age story about a boy who is kind of in his teenage years a little bit lost and doesn't know what direction he wants to go in, and he's kind of floundering through life, making mistakes, getting in trouble, and then he kind of has this realization at the end that opens up his mind and realizes that his position in the world is really to help save all the other lost children like him, and it turns him into this caretaker and helper rather than, so it's from lost person to kind of teacher, shepherd.
Yeah, I forget, but that book, I know for a fact I had to have read it sometime in either middle school or high school, because I think we watched a movie on it too, I think.
Oh yeah.
It all kind of blurs together. But yeah, but all right, cool. That's also a first recommendation for out of anyone that's been on. And one of the first fictional stories that someone has recommended. So great recommendation.
Thank you.
What is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
The legacy I'm working on leaving behind is Homesteads. It's my business. It's my lifestyle brand. I'm building this brand, hopefully, to leave behind to my children so that they can pick up the mantle and really create positive change in America that revolves around food and our relationship with food, not just manufacturing, but also the consumption of it. And so for me, that's really it. That's my legacy.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
The first step I would recommend is coming up with your idea of what wealth means to you, and then aligning your to-do list with that end goal.
Amazing. Maddie, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm glad we were able to connect. For anyone that's listening, the importance of like putting yourself out at these events, these conferences, whatever it may be. Mine just happened to be a TV show, but the amount of people, I think this year, in total on the podcast, I probably interviewed 10 or so, or maybe a little bit more people from this one little experience I had over a week. Led to a ton of different connections, all of which from super different backgrounds, different industries, but all entrepreneurs who are driven and like working towards something amazing. And those are the type of people you need around to have, especially again with entrepreneurship. It can get lonely. So Maddie, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and for sharing with us. For anyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the Walk to Wealth podcast. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button so we can continue on our journey to wealth together. And again, I'm your host, John Mendez, and I'll see you on the next episode.